What's going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of the AI Inside Podcast, the show where we take a look at the AI that is layered throughout so much of the world of technology. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Howell, joined, as always, by Jeff Jarvis. What's going on, Jeff? How you doing?
Oh, too much and nothing.
Too much and nothing in the summertime.
I'm like here. It's
Yeah. You've got the
94
East
right
Coast crazy hot going on. I mean, here it's super pleasant outside right now. It's like low 70s. I mean, it's going to get warmer. It's going to get
just be
warmer
quiet.
later. But this has just been a cooler summer. And you know what? I'm normally the kind of person that loves heat. Like, I love it. I enjoy going to heat and everything. But this summer, I've kind of enjoyed the cool factor on the West Coast. It's been
wish
kind of
we
a
had
nice
that,
change.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because I know on the East Coast, it's not just hot; it's also muggy.
We're bad at it.
Yeah.
In New York, it brings out some certain smells that you just don't get anywhere else.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some artificial intelligence. Let's talk about super intelligence because regular intelligence is so boring. Why don't we talk a little bit about Meta and their super intelligence? And we should start with friend of the show, Yann LeCun. Yann, when will you come back to the show? We would love to talk to you again. Yann is chief AI scientist, of course, at Meta. And I've been kind of curious about this because there's this whole super intelligence push and everything's changing. They're dangling billions of dollars in front of AI scientists to get them to come over to their effort. And then you've got Yann LeCun, who's been at Meta for quite a while at this point. And I've continued to wonder, like, how's Yann feeling in the midst of all of this happening? And basically, Yann has clarified his role at Meta in the midst of all these changes. Just very recently, OpenAI's Shanghai Zhao was recently announced as chief scientist of Meta's superintelligence lab. And so where does that leave LeCun in the midst of all that? He says that his efforts are going to be remaining with Meta's FAIR, that's Fundamental AI Research Team, which is really focused on academic and foundational research. So more focused on kind of like long-term AI science. Zhao more focused on fast developing technologies like superintelligence, taking more risks, that sort of stuff. So, it kind of a dual-pronged effort, each focused on different aspects of AI within the company.
Right. So the quote from Yann is, "My role as chief scientist for FAIR has always been focused on long-term AI research and building the next AI paradigms. My role and FAIR's mission are unchanged." And I think what's interesting here is that, we'll talk about this more in a few minutes, Zuck is going even more berserko about super intelligence and what we're putting in. So I guess that's the team that is fun to play on right now. But so was VR in the day. So, were other things in the day. So it could be, I wouldn't say it's flash in the pan because he's investing huge amounts of money. But I think that the key here is that Zhao is part of the team and Wang are part of the team focused now on super intelligence. But at the same time, you have Yann LeCun, who has said, if you want to go back and watch our interview, you should, because he said this there, and he said it otherwise, is that the current paradigms, LLMs, will not get you there. And so what he's working on is the next paradigms. He's working on connections to the real world, training models in entirely new ways related to real life, and so on and so on. So I actually think that if ever you get to something that you want to call super, I think it may more likely come from Yann's research than from this current team, because it's going to take new paradigms.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I wonder how they kind of feed and influence each other. Like, is Yann pulled in any way, shape, or form directly into the efforts of the superintelligence team, or are they working independently? And you know what I mean? Like how that kind of interactivity works between them, because they're very different.
I'm sure he is. I mean,
styles and approaches.
And as an academic, what they're doing is investigating paths and sharing the research. You know, I've been reading a lot about going down wonderful rabbit holes, which I'll talk about more in a few minutes, for my next book about the mass, and I've been looking at the history of the vacuum tube and the amplifier. And I'm understanding better the connection from theoretical science to practical science to technology to the market to culture. Right? So Yann LeCun is back on the academic, theoretical, pure science side of this. And I think what Zuckerberg's trying to put together is a current product lab. But the argument is it's so huge what we're doing that it's not as simple as a little product. And that's the problem, is they're all setting themselves up here. But I think there is still a need for that first step, that pure science. And I don't think it goes away. And I think that they're smart enough at Meta to know that.
Yeah. And they're rich enough at Meta to fund around that. Speaking of, there's a whole bunch of stories related to this right now. Right. We've got Meta, yes, of course, Shengzai Zhao, and then we've got Apple, another Apple executive moving over to Meta. Who is this? This is the Bowen Zhang is the most recent Apple defection, which I think, continues to raise some serious questions about Apple's momentum when it comes to AI. At least on a public sense, it really feels like Apple's, struggling to keep their big AI minds in-house at a time where they're already under public scrutiny around making promises about what they could deliver when it comes to AI and then not being able to and kind of putting that off. I wonder if this is more external reaction to things that internally they feel are being completely overblown. Like, oh, it's actually not that bad, but it's an obvious kind of target for people to postulate around. I don't know.
I don't think we've seen any public statement of a strategy for AI at Apple, have we?
No, it's true. Yeah, we haven't seen a whole lot.
So we know what they're trying to build, right? We know what Google's trying to build. We know what OpenAI is trying to build. We pretty much know what Meta's trying to build. And I put a video in later of what Zuckerberg's talking about right now. I think it's actually more amorphous than the other two. Perplexity is pretty clear. They're building a lot of AI products. Amazon, which will also come up later, I don't think their AI strategy is that clear at a consumer end. From a B2B end, from a hosting end, yes, it's pretty clear. Microsoft, I think a little mushy because it's been dependent upon OpenAI. What's Apple building really? And so if Meta comes calling with $100-200 million, God knows what they offered. Supposedly, as we'll talk about in a minute, he's offered a lot more than that. So it's a life-changing amount of money. And plus the other argument that Meta makes is we have the chips. And if you want to play, if you want to do research, if you really want to build what's next, you need the compute.
Yeah. Well, and this is also very interesting. You allude to kind of the other moves that they're making, and speaking of big fat wallets, Meta has been apparently trying like heck to lure, according to this article in Wired, more than a dozen people from Mira Murati's thinking machines. Total number of employees is around 50 people, so more than a dozen is quite a chunk of their team that Meta has actively recruited against. One person received an offer worth more than, in my Dr. Evil laugh, $1 billion. $1 billion
over a few years, Jason. So who knows? It's not
never mind. That's not a big deal. It's over a few years.
You'll get $1 billion. You might have to wait a decade for yours, but you don't get it, Jason.
Oh boy, I hope you're right. Actually, I don't know that I want $1 billion. You know what? I don't need $1 billion.
Right.
Who needs $1 billion damn dollars? Like needs.
No.
You're only going to get in trouble with that much money. But
you're now $10 closer to your $1 billion thanks to Lou.
Oh my
We
goodness!
just
No
got a
way,
super
Lou.
sticker. So let's start the counter going to Jason's billion.
Thank you, Lou, for getting getting us one step closer to $1 billion. Hey, you got to start somewhere. Every billionaire had their first $10, right?
That's right. I used to,
Thank
in
you,
my
Lou.
entrepreneurial classes, I used to go to my students and try to get them to understand money. And I would take $1 out of my pocket and say, here's your first dollar in revenue. What are you going to do
Yes.
with it? And they
Yeah.
would all keep the dollar.
No, they'd walk out of your class and they'd go to a vending machine and buy themselves a
Yes.
soda pop.
Yeah. It wouldn't get them very far.
No, thank you, Lou. That's awesome. The other people, okay, so there's more than a dozen. Let's assume that there were 13. So one of them was offered more than $1 billion. The other 12, a paltry 200 to 300 million over the span of 4 years.
Over 4 years, yeah.
The kicker here is that not one person has taken the offer.
Yeah.
You're offered this much life-changing money, and all it takes is
Sure
like
thing.
4 years of sticking with it at a massive, behemoth that is Meta, working under Zuckerberg and team. And none of them are willing to do it, at least according to this report in Wired. That's impressive. What's behind that? Is it that they don't want to work for Zuckerberg? Is that they don't want to be lost in a large corporation like Meta? Is it that they just
Or they believe in the cult of Mira?
exactly they believe in the mission of thinking machines and the leadership of
Again,
Mira
whatever
Robin?
it's going to do, and we're not sure about that.
No.
So as I was reading this, I was thinking, I made some notes here. And we've talked a lot on this show about Zuckerberg going out and trying to spend a bloody fortune to hire the best, to create a huge competitive marketplace for talent, as if that is the key to everything here, right? And I thought back. So the internet was a pretty big deal, right? The internet pretty much changed life all around.
It's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's a pretty big deal.
And Vince Cerf is at Google, where he's, I'm sure, making a nice pocket of change. Tim Berners-Lee, nobody tried to, well, maybe someone tried to hire him, but he didn't really go anywhere. He went to MIT. You think of other important technologies. I think that PostScript was utterly vital in changing our idea of publishing and content. And John Warnock and Chuck Geschke had a great company in Adobe, may they rest in peace. But you didn't see the same kind of gold rush for brains that is occurring today, right? Microsoft, Gates didn't come up with MS-DOS. He basically stole it from CP/M, I would argue. I don't remember Gary Kildall, the creator of CP/M, getting this kind of recruitment. And what inevitably happens, my theory is that what inevitably happens with technologies is that we this was true of the amplifier. It was true of the beginnings of radio. It was true of other technologies that, oh my God, the technologists are everything. They have the keys to the secrets. They have the priesthood. They know everything. We've got to hire them. Radio was kept behind the priesthood with all kinds of language. Oh, you won't understand this stuff, on the one hand. On the other hand, there were amateur kids in basements building radio sets, right? And you have that conflict of there's an expert class and there's an amateur class, right? Well, it's hard to have an amateur class when it comes to AI, on the one hand, because who's going to make a model? On the other hand, it's all amateur because you don't need to be a computer programmer anymore.
Right.
And so what I think inevitably happens is the technologists fade into the background. And the users take over the technology. And the technology is no longer as mysterious. And the technologists are no longer as valuable. Now, they've cashed out by then because they've probably sold their patents and they've made money, and that's fine. But this presumption here that is exhibited by Zuckerberg more than anybody else is that the way to win this is the brain derby, is to get many of these great brains you can and put them together and give them chips. And oh my God, we will have super intelligence. As you know, I doubt super intelligence. And B, yes, it's necessary for a time. And maybe he's maybe this is his version of first mover advantage. But
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I
see the technologists as the key to this forever.
Who would be the key if it wasn't them then? Is it the
I think it's the people who use it. I think that
that's
Edison invented a part of film, and Edison wasn't important to it anymore. It was Hollywood. Edison invented the gramophone, and it wasn't very good actually. So the graphophone was a better version of it. That's the first with wax. And what mattered there was not the technology. And they tried to be in the business, but in the end, it was music studios that made it work.
They were important in the sense that if they hadn't been there, they wouldn't have created the thing that then made a life of its own. Right. Which is kind of what Zuckerberg is trying to do here, at least the beginning, is to create the thing, to create the super intelligence thing.
Pardon me while I rudely stand up.
You're pardoned.
This is a DeForest vacuum tube.
Okay.
Triode, right?
Yeah.
There was a vacuum tube before this, when there was Edison before this with the light bulb, and that was a step on this way. And then there was the diode. Now there was the triode here. And Lee DeForest, who invented this, who has credit for this, had no idea the importance. He thought that it was going to be an amplifier to get telephone calls coast to coast. And AT&T thought it was important for that too, so they bought the patents. And they said, you can keep making tubes for radios and amateurs, we don't care. And nobody saw a broadcast. So it wasn't the technologists who understood the importance of this technology. It was those who used those technologies who became vital to it. So it's some kid who's going to make amazing things with the model that the kid didn't make any more than an artist made Adobe products, but they used them to make something.
But is there something about the reliance upon which, if Zuckerberg creates a super intelligence system, that system, as far as I would understand, is a platform that is required in order for the users to do the things that they do, versus a tube that can exist on its own. I mean, somebody has to make it, but then it's not reliant upon Meta for someone to connect to that tube every single time they want to use it, and be empowered to do the things that they do. Is that part of the bet that Zuckerberg is making here? Is we want to be first to create these things, and because we're first, everyone will be kind of locked into our way of using these things. And those users can do amazing things, but they're still requiring the use of what Meta has. Well, does that make sense?
It's a really good question. So let me play with it in two ways. One is, for years, if you wanted a tube, you had to pay to those who had the patents for the tube, right? And DeForest sold those patents for far too little money to AT&T, but AT&T made money on this, right? So there was a direct patent relationship. This is the way to amplify. It was the only way to amplify, and you needed to buy one of these, right? Or you need to buy the patent. And what we're seeing in the AI world, as we talked about just last week, is a constant process of leapfrogging. That there really isn't a barrier to entry so far to the capabilities of AIs, right? Nobody has done something and said, we have cracked this and patented it, and nobody else can do this because it is the secret to doing this, and you're going to have to pay us for this privilege. You haven't heard any of that. And of course, Google started all this with an open paper that shared it. See earlier discussion about open science, right? Because scientists share their knowledge. That's how they work. So what would it be that Zuckerberg unlocks that gives him
the lock?
I'm not sure that's even doable. Maybe it could be that there's some secret that he unlocks and that you can patent. And you can hold on to that patent for a number of years, and you have to get paid for it, or people have to come to you to do it, and you keep it secret. Interestingly, with PostScript, Adobe did not get a patent because they thought it was too easily replicable by other means. So they kept it a secret for years. So Zuckerberg could do either of those paths, patent or secret, if he has that key thing. But again, there's this presumption. If I get the greatest brains, they will come up with this thing.
I'm going to get the key thing.
Right.
I have more likelihood of getting the key thing if I've got all these people on my team. And yeah, it's interesting.
So this now goes to what is Zuckerberg building? And he's talked about that this week.
For sure, he has with a blog post called "Personal Super Intelligence." Posted this in this little scribe. It's not super long. Pretty in the realm of AI overlords posting their thoughts and theories about AI. This is pretty easy to digest compared to some of them that I've seen. But he talks about personal empowerment of a super intelligent AI, kind of a utopian future of AI where everyone has super intelligence that makes them be able to live a more creative life and not have to do all the things that they don't want to do. He also seems to believe that glasses are the way of the future, which
because it hears what you hear and sees what you see, and so it has that context, he argues.
Yeah, which is true. It still requires you to wear a thing that you might not want to wear. Like, I'm a lifelong, since I was a kid, I've had to wear some sort of corrective lenses. I hate glasses. Like, I really just don't enjoy wearing glasses on my face. But am I going to have to in order to live in the future with super intelligent agents? I mean, apparently that's what Zuckerberg thinks.
Yeah, so he also made a video of this. It's the same script. He's just reading the script that he.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
That's all that is. And his argument.
Oh, there we go.
Is compelling in one sense, that he's trying to say that he wants to empower every one of us to have our own superintelligence, rather than the company being a superintelligent. However, if he's the only one who has it, then we have to go through him, and that's how he benefits. That's what he controls. I still don't buy superintelligence. I just don't buy it as the goal. I think this idea of general superintelligence that can do anything, especially, go back to Yann LeCun, based on present technology, BS.
Yeah, certainly.
Now LeCun said, no, we will
LLM.
get there with other breakthroughs. I'm still not sure I agree with him, but he does say that.
Yeah, he was pretty definitive. He's like,
yeah.
"Oh, it's going to happen." And I think a lot of these people in similar positions truly believe that too. I mean, I don't know that I necessarily doubt that it'll happen eventually. I think it will probably. We'll get to the point to where these machines are that darn capable. I just don't feel like it's anytime soon. Certainly not at the timetable that they want you to believe. Because they're going to continue saying we're almost there, because that keeps you interested, that keeps you wowed by what they're doing. But I still can't pull up an agentic browser and have it like actually summarize the cell of a document that I'm parked on. Even when I tell it, summarize the news story that is this cell highlights, and it gets confused and does like all of the documents, all of the cells in the document. And if I can't get an AI to do that very specific, like easy, I think pretty easy to comprehend task, like a super intelligent agent that can do all the things for me that I don't want to do, I'm sorry, it's a long ways away. Let's be real.
We don't. This is not in the rundown, and I don't want to go into it. But Sam Altman this week is hyping through Dread again. Like
yes,
he said, I'm scared of the technology. Well, dude, you're the one who's building it.
Well, then stop.
Right. And I'm scared of what it can build in bioweapons and so on and so forth, right? Yeah. That's his way to hype things. It's interesting to contrast that with Zuckerberg, who by some would be seen as more of a dark lord, but he's much more sunny.
Yeah, I was going to say he's far more utopian. Like,
absolutely,
kind of like, oh, just think of how good your life is going to be when you're all wearing our glasses.
Right.
And,
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, yes, it's very much, you read it and it's like, oh, but this could go a lot of really bad ways too. Yeah. And you're just kind of painting over it with a watercolor.
Meanwhile, Jason, I see that you have your cult artifact here. You've joined the cult. It's going to program you. Here you go.
Here it is. What the heck is this in my hands right here? Well, you can see it's an Oakley label. That's because on the inside is a pair of glasses. Oh,
there's the pod from the aliens going onto Jason's head.
These are the Oakley Meta HSTN. I think I imagine that just means Houston, right? They've removed the vowel. I don't know. I haven't looked it up. Limited edition. These are limited edition. So these are $500 glasses, Jeff. $500 friggin' dollars.
To help pay for it, you canceled something else that never came.
I honestly, I don't know that I'm keeping these because
Wow.
I got it. Hi, Bronson. I got them a week ago, and I've been using them a lot. I got them for a very specific reason.
Research.
And well,
And
that's
also-
actually a different reason
Oh,
that I
I
got
see.
them for, if I'm honest. Like, I got them because I knew it would be good for the show, right?
Yeah.
I knew that it would.
Yeah.
By the way, they're polarized, so I
that
can't
screenshot
see you anymore.
Yeah, you got. Oh, they're. Oh, so you can't see the screen now?
No, they're polarized. I can if I go like this. So that probably says more about the teleprompter.
The confused
screen
German
than it
Shepherd
does.
look. Yeah.
Yeah. Bronson's doing that to me right now. Like, why didn't you take me for a walk? Beautiful lenses. They're these polarized prism ruby lenses. Everything looks, kind of yellow and vibrant when you put them on. But I mean, you're not getting these because they're pretty sunglasses. I mean, they're kind of funky looking. Honestly, I think it's polarizing. It's a very polarizing design.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? Like I've gotten used to the look of them, but they're not the style that I would normally put on my face. And I don't think they look awful, but I can see why people don't like them.
Yeah.
But they have,
And you could pull it off better than I can at my age too.
oh, come on. I think you could pull it off. There are speakers on both arms. You can kind of see those speakers popping out right there. So you've got
So it's
stereo
not bone.
speakers.
It's not bone induction. It's speaker.
No, not bone conduction. So you're not getting it through your skull, which does mean that when you're listening to something, it's coming into the room. So there is that. It's not super duper loud.
Is
Like,
it
it's
elevator
actually-
obnoxious?
What do you mean? Like if I
That
was in an
when
elevator?
people wear their earbuds on a little too loud, a little too loose, and you hear them in the elevator.
I think that would probably be the case with these. I haven't tried the elevator test yet, but I know that they, at full volume, like they're audible. You can hear them for
got
sure. And then let's see here. So if I put them on, so when I put them on, I hear a little, doodle-doo. I don't know. I'm waiting for it. Oh, because it did it before. There's a little button up here, up in the top. So if I press it, I get a picture. And so it just took a picture of you. It's a vertical oriented picture. So it does images, also does video, 4K video, which is the primary reason I bought them, which I'll talk about in a second. If I tap and hold this, it's now recording video, and I can determine how.
For
long
those
it
of you
records.
listening, we can see an orb
Yes.
on one of his temples flashing.
Is it this temple?
Yes, that temple.
So yes, okay. So my right temple has the indicator, so that tells you that it's recording. The left temple is the actual camera, and it's a vertical. Well, once again, it's a vertical 4K image, so it's not horizontal; it's vertical. These can only record up to 3 minutes at a time, which means that they're really meant for social sharing. They're meant to tie into Instagram and Facebook, and I could on the go record my mountain bike ride for a few minutes, and then it's automatically imported into my phone, and I could share it away.
And then
So
it
that's-
clears up the cache and the glasses, so you can record another one.
Exactly. It flushes it out and kind of recycles it and everything. So I'm going to turn that off so that it's off. This whole area right here is also touch sensitive on the side arm. So I can do volume up, volume down. I mean, honestly, these are very much Google Glass, but like 10, 11, 12 years later. It's just
Just
that they look
dorky in a different definition.
dorky and yeah, they don't look like a sci-fi weird thing on your face. They
Right.
just look like really like I went somewhere with these glasses to with some friends, and one of the guys there was like, "Those look like glasses that Sam Altman would wear," and I knew exactly what he meant.
Yes.
It's just like, yeah, I want you to notice my technology glasses. Without it being too technology. So that's one aspect of these glasses, is the kind of video and media sharing and everything. The other side of this, of course, is the one that's probably more appropriate for this show, which is that it's using Meta AI. And so when I'm wearing them, I can say, hey, Meta, what am I looking at right now? I don't know if it's going to.
You're looking at a computer workstation with multiple monitors and audio equipment.
Could you hear that?
You're barely. You're a workstation with multiple monitors.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
I
why don't you
tried to
ask
turn
it
up.
what's on the screen?
Hey, Meta, what's on the screen that I'm looking at right now?
You are looking at a computer screen displaying various windows and tabs, including a web browser and what appears to be a shopping website.
It appears to be a shopping website. Do you know what product I'm looking at right now over here on a monitor that you can't see, Jeff?
You want me to look right?
Yeah, look to your right, sure. It's thinking really hard right now.
Then have it describe the people on this screen.
Glasses.
It appears to be a pair of sunglasses. Okay, go away.
Okay.
So I wore these out on like walks with my dog and just kind of out and about, just trying to like find myself in situations where it would come in handy. And like I did have one part of a walk yesterday where I came across this cactus and I was like, well, what is this cactus? Like I've never seen a cactus like this before. And I ended up having like a 2 or 3 minute conversation back and forth with it. Like, is it drought tolerant? You know, how do you take care of a cactus like this? And blah, blah, blah. And so that was kind of interesting, although people probably thought I was crazy because I was basically talking to myself. But I also had other situations where like I had them on and I'm looking at a pretty empty calendar on the wall with a date and something written on that date. And I'm like, tell me what's happening on August 22nd. And it refers instead to a completely different date on the calendar and doesn't read the words that were there correctly. It like garbles them. So, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag. But
So your primary purpose in getting this was for your product work?
I wanted to know how the AI works. That's
Yep,
certainly a part of it for this show, especially, and because we've talked about these types of glasses a lot. But I also wanted POV, 4K POV recorder, something that was easy. That if I went to like a conference or in my media production here, if I want to do like a POV shot of me holding a phone with both hands, I could just put it on, record, and go. And I would say that it does not satisfy my purposes there.
You've
the
tried
quality
that in testing. It just
the
doesn't.
quality is just not that good. Like the fact that it's vertical means that I have to crop it horizontal for what I do. And so then I'm reducing the resolution that way. Plus the recording quality is pretty compressed.
How about the
to
nodding
begin with.
head problem?
That doesn't bother me. I mean, when I'm
Because
recording,
you know you're holding still.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I probably change how I do things, when I'm wearing it. I kind of make myself still. I also don't. It's also really hard to know where center is because what we might think center is in centered with our face, but the camera's over to the side. I have no visual representation to know where I hold things to make sure that it's right. And I'm sure I'd get that over time. I'd probably learn that over time, but. All of that would be okay if the quality was good enough for me. And it's
So if all you were doing was wanting to listen to music, ask a few simple questions, and mainly record social videos,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah, maybe. But you're $500.
Yeah.
So hopefully you really like them as sunglasses. Like if I was like a mountain biker or doing some sort of outdoor sport and I just wanted to get really easy, like clips of things that are out there and not immediately in front, because that's another aspect. The cameras are ultra wide angle. And so it looks great when you're looking at scenery, when you're looking at medium to far distance. Up close, everything is skewed and everything's kind of
Right.
bendy and stuff. And so it's just not ideal for what I was hoping to use them for. Having said that, like I'm still going to spend a little bit more time with them before I send them back. I might, do a review because I have them. I might,
you
as well.
So to
But
compare, the
yeah.
Ray-Bans run $300, right?
Yeah. So the Ray-Bans are definitely less. I think they're 300, if not a little bit less than that.
And does this have any
These are-
functionality that they don't have? The Oakley?
That's a good question. I know that they're higher res. Like the Ray-Bans are like a 1080p kind of HD video recording quality. I think the AI capabilities are about the same. I know that the battery life on these is excellent by comparison. I think it's something like 48 hours 8 hours at a time. So 8 hours on a single charge, which I think
wow.
is pretty damn impressive.
That's pretty amazing.
And then 48 hours when you include the charge of the box, which is a really high quality case that it fits into. It's chunky, this is going to take up some space. It's heavy, but it does its purpose really well. So yeah, pretty neat.
All right, good report.
pretty neat, but not quite what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy that I've been able to spend the time with them. Now that I know that I'm sending them back, I'm taking even better care of them than I did when I first got them, which I was already taking good care of them. But I don't want them to get all scratched up or anything. So trying to be careful. But speaking of Ray-Ban, before we get to the break here, is it EssilorLuxottica, who are apparently the makers of the...
They make virtually every pair of glasses out there now. They've taken over
Okay.
everything.
They're just like a luxury glasses band. Well, they own the Meta Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses brand, and they say their revenue from the Meta partnership has tripled in 1 year. So a lot of consumer interest in smart wearables. Maybe Zuckerberg's onto something. Maybe these really are the glasses of our future. Guess we'll find out. So that's my report.
Good work.
Real quick before we go to an ad, we have another super thanks. Thomas.
Yes,
Ruffley.
Thomas, thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate you. Says, thank you for the great discussion as always. I love that we have so many people watching live, and thanks for throwing us a few dollars here and there. It really helps. Speaking of that, you can, of course, support this show, and it really does go a long way. Patreon.com/AI Inside Show is where you can go to support us on a regular basis, and we will name you in the show, but in a good way. Patron of the Week. Peter, thank you so much for your support. Great to have you here. So many awesome people supporting the show on Patreon. Patreon.com/AI Inside Show. All right. We are going to take a quick break, and then we've got a whole lot more news to talk about, so hang tight. Okie dokie. Let's start off with something. I know I saw this on socials somewhere, Jeff. You shared a report, and let's see here. What is the report?
So
I prepared something. Hold on. I prepared something, and I have to say it.
Okay.
I'd love for you to delve into your perspective. You clearly comprehend the subject in a meticulous way, and I know you boast some swift insights about what all of this truly means, Em Dash. Please share your thoughts with us, Jeff Jarvis.
You get an A, student. Grasshopper. So there's a wonderful paper, Empirical Evidence of Large Language Models' Influence on Human Spoken Communication, with 7 authors from various places. And it's fascinating because they wanted to look at pre-LLM world speech, comparing it to post-LLM world speech. And they used a whole bunch of corpi for that. And they looked at the top words that are preferred by ChatGPT. So you just heard a sampling of them from Jason. Delve, underscore, comprehend, bolster, boast, swift, inquiry, meticulous, pinpoint, surpass, craft, intricate, heighten, lesson, discern, necessitate, showcased, amidst, escalate, and intricacy. So it determined that those were ChatGPT faves, and then it looked at I think it was social contact and other writing. No, I forget what they looked at. A composition of human verbal communication data from 360,000 YouTube videos of academic talks, 771,000 podcast episodes. And so they wanted to look at that to assess the impact of ChatGPT. And they found that in various fields, some of these things went way up. Delve was huge. Underscore, not so much. Comprehend was big. Bolster was big, and so on. Right? So I found this amusing on its own case. So I did exactly what Jason just did. I put a post up saying, you must delve into this report to fully, and so on and so forth.
Comprehend.
Yes. But the other thing that interested me about this, as a journalist, used to journalistic cliches, is that because a lot of the models were trained on news and journalism out there, a lot of these words are journo words. Right. Underscore is a journalistic word. New York Times, when they're trying to find out why did we write this story? Well, this underscores the issue of, right? Yeah. That's a big one. Inquiry is a big one. Pinpoint, surpass, heighten, lesson, showcase, like underscore, escalate. Those are journal words. And to me, that indicates what journalism did to ChatGPT, and then what ChatGPT in turn did to general speech, would also tell me that ChatGPT has a greater influence on speech than journalism. If there was a delta there, it strikes me that delta.
A delta. Oh, sorry. If there was a delta.
You're forgiven, Jason. You're forgiven.
Sorry. It's working. It's taking over.
So anyway, it's a fun paper. I like this when you can find a paper like this that speaks to us in human normal language. There's formulae in here I can't understand. There's all kinds of stuff, but you don't need to. That's the punchline.
Lots of things that make me think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't
Looks
understand.
good.
I've talked to a lot of people who feel, and yes, a lot of these people that I'm referring to work in journalism and work in media and everything, who feel a certain frustration about the fact that there are words and phrases that our AI tells, not because it's like outing them, but because they use the word.
Right.
And now they feel like they can't use the word.
Yeah.
Because if they do, then someone's going to point at them. Like Em Dash is a perfect
That one
example.
pisses me
I've
off.
never used an Em Dash.
Oh.
I don't even know the right way to use an Em
You see,
Dash.
that's the thing. In my book, magazine, now an audiobook, I actually talk about the Em Dash. Because when I was at People magazine, you wrote in a little tiny space and you had to cram as many facts and quotes as you could into that space. And so parenthetical, that is to say, asides between Em Dashes was the handiest way to do that. Howell, who in his spare time is also a musician, runs a podcast for, right? And those could be commas, they could be parentheses, but we tended to use dashes a lot. So to this day, I love the Em Dash. I use the Em Dash. I am AI. So no, it's BS that Em Dashes are the province only of chats. No, wrong.
Okay. So you write a lot then, and you've used the Em Dash a lot. Do you feel any sort of pressure to not use an Em Dash?
No, because
for
I'm an
fear of
ass.
being called out for it.
No, because I'm a jerk, and I'm gonna use more of them as a result.
I'm going to Em Dash. Every single sentence is going to
Yeah.
have an Em Dash in it.
You bet.
Yeah. See, before all of this, I wasn't even truly aware of like the function of an Em Dash. Like I'd seen them, yes, and I would know when I read them. But if I was to sit down to write something, I wouldn't have automatically known like, oh, this is the perfect place for an Em Dash. I would have used a comma.
Right.
And
or parenthesis in some cases, maybe.
or maybe a parenthesis.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
less so
you
for
usually
me,
use
I
two
think.
of them.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
That makes
sorry,
sense.
that was obnoxious. See, I'm a jerk. But part of the other thing here is because on various of the platforms now, including Google Docs, you type in two hyphens, it makes it into an Em Dash. So Em Dashes, which before, if you tried to use them at all, in type, it was two hyphens. If in going to desktop publishing, you wanted an Em Dash in the old days, you had to go finding the Em Dash, and people didn't do it. It was too much of a pain. You would do space hyphen space or something like that, right? Now the Em Dashes are automatically done in Medium and I presume in Word and Docs. So it's very common. Now there is the hyphen versus the Em Dash. There is also an N Dash.
What is an Em Dash?
An
Actually,
N-
and
so-
someone watching our live stream mentions this. Mo.
Right.
Says,
so the Mo, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry,
here.
Zoe.
Oh,
Zoe.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. And it's an M is the width of a capital M in any given font.
Okay.
Okay. N is half of that. So an M dash is the size of an M, and an N dash is a portion of that. And an N dash versus a hyphen. An N dash is used if you say properly, if you really want to do your typography well, 14 to 25 years, 14 N dash 25. You use the smaller dash there because it looks better typographically.
Oh, interesting.
There's your nerd moment of the day.
My goodness. And how? Although I learned something new about Em Dash and the existence of N Dash and why they are named what they are. That's so fascinating. And still, if I'm working with AI tools and I know that I'm going to be kind of working with it to kind of synthesize thoughts or whatever, the second I see an Em Dash, I'm like, nope, I don't even consider utilizing it. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, no, there's stink around the Em Dash. I'm not going down that direction. No, thank you. The Em Dash stink. Maybe that's the title. I don't know. The Em Dash Stench. The Em Dash Stench. The stench of Em Dash. Something like that. Okay. Speaking of stench, sorry, horrible
moment.
segue.
You're gonna get in trouble.
Let me put a pause. Okay, completely unrelated to that previous comment. U.S. President Donald Trump spoke at an AI summit last week and had some words to share about using copyrighted content to train AI models. He essentially said that forcing AI companies to pay licensing fees for every rights holder with copyrighted work in training sets is, quote, not doable, which, I don't know, I kind of agree to a certain extent.
I agree with. It's not.
I hate to say I agree. Said the complexity of such a demand would hinder U.S. leadership in artificial intelligence.
Which, of course, is what all the AI folks are telling them. So
yes, that's right. And China is kind of an example of an environment with a much more relaxed attitude towards IP enforcement, to say the least, and their advancements are kind of showing progress as a result of that. Let's say he spoke to the need of common sense rules was kind of a big part of what he was talking about. What do you think?
I agree. And I think what I always say in this case is there are three levels of this. There is the training, which is, in my view, fair use and transformative. We have a mixed bag of cases so far heading that way, but not clearly. Then there is RAG. There is material that is used and quoted. I think that needs to be licensed. Though licensed if used publicly. If I'm using Notebook LM and I put something in Notebook LM, I'm putting in a copyrighted piece and I'm asking it to summarize it for me. Notebook LM shouldn't have to pay for that. Mm-hmm. The question is, if I share that, then how does that work? So it's going to be complicated there as well. Mm-hmm. And then there's the question of acquisition, which is the Anthropic case.
Yes.
If you bought the stuff,
how did you get it?
You can reuse it because you have a right to reuse it. If you got to it because it's free online, I would argue that's the same case. However, if you stole the books, if you acquired the books without buying them, knowing that one would normally have to buy them, different matter. And Anthropic in this case didn't buy books new. They bought a whole mess of used books, but they bought them. Mm-hmm. They didn't, and that means they didn't pay the original authors any copyright. Others didn't make any
that's
money.
the interesting thing about that. They're too, used. Right? Like, technically they bought them, but who'd they buy them from? Some random mom and pop person, some random person with a box of old books? Oh, okay.
So I just donated 6 boxes of books to the AAUW Women's University book sale in Burnsville, New Jersey, right? And it's a fascinating thing because people come in. Have you ever been to one of these used book sales for like the scanners come in? Mm-mm. People come in with scanners attached to their phones and they scan the barcode, the ISBN, and then they look up what the market says on eBay and such, what the price is. And if the book sale is much less, they arbitrage. Yes. They're obnoxious. Okay. They're horrible. They just rush through. And those of us who just want to find a neat book to read can't get the first day, you're doomed. So then they go on the next day and the next day and the next day. At the end of these sales, inevitably, there are hundreds of books left. And thousands of books left. And I would, if Anthropic came in at that point and said, you know what, well, it's a pain. What do they do with them? They got to pay somebody to take them away. Anthropic came in and said, we'll take them for free.
We'll take them.
Yeah, we'll take them. Or pay us to take them even. Is that a legitimate acquisition?
Right. Because money didn't trade hands, change hands.
Nobody traded. They didn't buy them. The authors got nothing, but they acquired them in a proper way. So this is all very unclear. Yeah.
Example to point to, right? That shows just how loosey-goosey and hardly defined this
libraries
really
give away
right now.
Libraries clean shelves all the time and give away books, put out shelves of books. Come along, grab the books.
So then it's a determination of what is a legitimate way of procuring
acquisition.
A book.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe it's not just money changing hands, because I would say if a library was getting rid of 100 books in a box, that's a pretty legitimate way to
I
get
think so.
100 books.
I think so.
But yeah,
Now, but in the case of
interesting.
Anthropic, they used two databases, books. I think it was Books 3 and then another one, where they were current books and they weren't acquired in that way. So that
Right.
was not legit. So there is a question about acquisition, but it's not clear cut either. So anyway, we agree with Donald Trump. Put that in the history books.
Yeah, there it is. Hey, sometimes it happens. Let's see here. Speaking of licensing, Amazon, I think you mentioned this earlier in the show, struck a multi-year licensing deal with the New York Times worth at least $20 million per year, at least $20 million per year. Amazon gets access to Times journalism, news, recipes, content from The Athletic, and can train its models on all of that content for things like summaries, excerpts, that sort of stuff. And yeah, this is Q Jeff's demanding a universal news API.
Bingo. This peeves me because this is a money grab it's the rich get richer in a winner take most market. It does nothing for the vast ecosystem of news. The Salzburgers get $20 million in the company. Okay, well, I won't begrudge them that, but to act as if this is Amazon fixing news, it's not. To act as if this does anything for most of news, it does not. The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and for now the Washington Post still get 2/3 of all subscription revenue online. They're doing okay. Well, the Post not so much lately, but at least the two of the three are. So these money grabs just irritate the hell out of me. And so what I've been arguing is that the rest of news should get their act together, gather together, create a shared API for news where you don't even need the New York Times. You can get everything you need to train the models and current news by having 1,000 sources instead of one, and pay less for it. But pay less.
Okay, so this is like a field of dreams, Jeff. If you were to build it, if you were to build a news API, would they come? That's the question.
That's my fear. This is when we talked about this in our second show, is that Norway, they did it because it was Norway and they're sane. And they said, we're in an unusual tiny language, we got to work together. Mm-hmm. In the US, no. I think that news organizations typically have not gotten along. But that's if you're talking about the chains, the people who are going after money with their lobbyists and all that. There's now, I think you could ignore all of them too, because all they're running is bad AP stuff. I think you could license the AP or Reuters, and then you could go to the Institute for Nonprofit News, and you could go to Lion, a local news collective, and you can go to the American Journalism Project, and you would have right there a few hundred news sites, and you'd get a hell of a lot of news. You get more than you need for training, and you'd get current news for RAG. It could happen. It could happen. I'm working on it in my slow, jerky way.
Just saying, build the API, make it happen. With all of your free time.
Yeah.
No big deal. I love that you keep pushing this, because you know what? Maybe someday it'll actually happen. And you can
I'm
be
talking to folks.
I've been talking.
And if anybody out there is interested in this conversation, you know where to find me.
There you go. Another week, another browser agent. This time, a scrappy upstart called Microsoft, something like that. Anyways, with their Edge browser, a new experimental feature called Copilot Mode, which is essentially putting an AI assistant into the Edge browsing experience. And I'm not sure that Clippy is involved, although who knows, maybe someday.
If they had a sense of humor, they would put Clippy in it.
I know, right? I think we've kind of gone over the Clippy has taken a long voyage.
Clippy's cooties are gone.
Yeah, I think the cooties are gone, and now we're like, okay, Clippy, you're kind of cool, even though we all hated you back then.
Clippy, cooties to cool. It's kind of the biography of Clippy.
That'll be the documentary. Oh, that's a good documentary. Clippy, cooties to cool, to Copilot. Copilot agent can find information, summarize, compare open tabs, manage tasks, things like booking reservations. Although I have to ask, but how poorly does it do those things?
Yep.
That's the question. Integrates across sessions, recent searches, browsing history, offers tailored suggestions based on all that context. And actually, it's free for a limited time, although it will eventually require a Copilot Pro subscription. Sounds an awful lot like what we have checked out with Perplexity Comet. And I think they're all probably going to do very similar things. They all seem to kind of move in the same direction.
What Google's starting to add to its browser, it's going to come together. Again, it's leapfrogging.
Yep. Make sure you're there. Make sure you're there. I actually had a company reach out to me called Fellou. I don't know how to pronounce that, but Fellou.ai. They were asking me to hey, do you want to do a partnership and check out the browser and everything? And I've got like a whole process now with a Gemini Gem where I'm like, my first thing that I do when I get a partnership email is like, how is this company? Like, is there any reason, is there anything I should know before I say yes, no, maybe, or anything like that? I also actually posted this in the Discord and had some of our executive producers help me vet.
Thank you, exec producers.
Yeah, thank you for
EPs.
that. And apparently the privacy policy is really not good at all. So I'm not pulling this up to say, hey, everybody check out Fellou, because I haven't used it. I probably won't. What we all kind of gathered out of the privacy policy was a little concerning, especially compared to like what you see with Perplexity Comet, which isn't amazing, but isn't horrible either. Definitely not along the lines of this. But I think overall, it kind of speaks to a larger concern that I definitely hear from people when it comes to agentic browser, which is, we better be reading the terms of service. We better be understanding what they plan to do with that data, because when you have AI integrated into your browser, in other words, watching and contextualizing everything you're doing in there, are they training their models with how you're using your browser? Do they own that data that's passing through the browser because it's passing through their systems now?
Well, and are they secure? If you're giving it access to your Google, this is the next story too, Perplexity. If you're making a connection with Gmail, with your checkbook, with
what is a checkbook? No, actually, I know what it is.
with your PayPal, with your Zelle, whatever. With your medical stuff, whatever, how secure is it? Are you sure it isn't being stored? Are you sure it isn't vulnerable in some way? That's pretty critical.
Very critical. Do you trust them with it? This probably isn't the place to be super lax with your trust when, it's not just the data that I share inside of Facebook, which is, you want to be,
but you're broadcasting that to some number of people.
Yeah, that there's at least a little bit of a container for that. When it's everything that you possibly ever do on the web, via the browser, that's a whole other can of worms, and that's probably a large part of why these companies really want this to work, because that data is incredibly valuable.
In the chat, Chris and Teraflops are asking, what's the point of an agentic browser? And it's a really good question. Is it just gravy on the meatloaf? But I think I would recommend watching Jason's review of Comet, because he went through some use cases where it does make sense. It does tie the context of what you're looking at, which see the earlier discussion about the glasses, right? Mm-hmm. It's in the context of what you see, what you're doing, and you can then ask questions of it or ask it to do things. So I think there is a future for this, but it will depend upon trust.
It'll depend upon trust and efficacy.
Yep.
Because as much value as I am getting right now out of using Comet, it's not my default. I don't default to Comet, so I think that says something about my use. I'm not quite at the point where I'm like, I want to shovel everything that I do in my browser through Comet, but I have very specific reasons that I open it, and I'm starting to learn its limitations, or at least the limitations that I've run into, that I can trust it mostly for these things. I wouldn't dare use it for those things, that sort of stuff. And, so getting used to that for yourself, because I think everybody's going to have a different feeling about that too.
Yeah.
So Yeah, interesting stuff. Well, you mentioned Perplexity kind of opening things up, and you're of course alluding to Perplexity Mac app. So we're not talking Comet, we're talking the actual Perplexity app for the Mac now supports MCP, that is Model Context Protocol, which is, as we've talked about many times before, the industry standard interface that Anthropic has helped develop that connects AI models to traditional software, to traditional APIs. And so the idea here is you've got the Perplexity Mac app on your computer, on your desktop, and this gives Perplexity the ability to interact with different Mac apps, different data sources throughout your desktop experience. So integrating into specific apps like editing notes inside of Apple Notes, or creating minders in Apple Calendar, or I don't know, maybe even changing the settings in your computer. There's probably some permissions there to be worked out. But
Jason,
yeah.
help me out here, because I'm trying to figure out the two-way street. The way this was worded, it sounds like it's when you're using Perplexity, you can basically pull in the other app.
Mm-hmm.
What about the reverse? I'm in the app. Can I pull Perplexity into that? Does it work two ways?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. My guess would be, not knowing and just guessing, my guess would be that this is more about like, check out all the things you can do inside of Perplexity.
Inside of
now.
Perplexity. I think that is I think that's true, but I'm not sure that's the most compelling use case.
Yeah, to be able to have it go in reverse. I mean, is that going to then require every app to build in some sort of hook into Perplexity? You know, like I don't
Or is
know
this another case where
that
Google's going to have an advantage because I'm in Slides and I wanted to do something in Slides, then I have Google's
integrated.
AI right there to do it within. I would have to go to extra effort to connect to something else.
Yeah. It is interesting. I definitely would like to play around with this just to get a better sense of it, because I haven't had any personal involvement or interaction with MCP, which comes up on the show a lot. Mm-hmm. The installation process of this is apparently a bit more than just installing a helper app. Like there's some, it's like an intermediate install process, because there's certain permissions and certain things you have to really bake into the desktop experience in order to allow for this, because you are giving more control to this particular app, and Apple has baked into Mac OS certain restrictions around this stuff so that nefarious developers don't create things that do this sort of stuff in a bad way, an unintended way. And so this is, kind of giving permission to certain actions that Apple might on its surface be like, that's a bad idea. So you do have to go to greater lengths to install it. And so I'm curious about it, but I just don't enjoy setup of that sort of stuff. Maybe I need to get over myself. So anyways, interesting nonetheless.
Yep.
And might have to check that out. Real quick, if you're enjoying this show, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Really appreciate it. Goes a super long way to getting the word out, and the word is getting out, and that's really great. I love to see the progress of everything. So thank you for empowering that. All right, going to take a super quick break, then check into a speed round, and then get you out of here. So hang tight. We'll be back in a second. Dun, dun, dun. It's time
Speed round, when I get a chance to talk as fast as I normally talk fast.
Yes. Speed round is not that we're fitting in a bunch of stories. It's just that we talk really fast, and it's really hard to keep up with us. We are automatically at 210% speed. No, not really. What we will talk about first is OpenAI's new ChatGPT agent. Speaking of agents, apparently so human that it easily bypasses Cloudflare's "I'm not a robot" anti-robot verification. At least it did this for a Reddit user who also shared that throughout the process, the agent was casually clicking through and proving that it was not a robot, even though it is a bot. And it was narrating the entire process along the way, saying, this is how I'm doing each thing. So, it's telling you how it's
good. Get rid of this damn thing. It irritates the hell out of me. I think it's no surprise at all. If they can't do this now, then they ain't near superintelligence, folks.
Yeah, exactly. These are the things.
Yeah,
these right here are the things where you're just like,
you can't figure that out. And B, I said this in the socials, filling out that stupid box makes me feel like a robot. You're making me do this robotic task that I hate. To tell you I'm not a robot makes me feel like a robot. So take it away. Enough.
So let me ask you, do you do what I do? Because I do this and I don't necessarily think about it specifically, but it's just part of my routine with CAPTCHAs now. When I get a CAPTCHA checkbox, I don't just drag right over to it and click. I like do this weird like stop start squiggle thing over there
Just to try to fool it.
just to make it like so apparent that I'm a human, because any of the times that I go right to it, it gives me like 3 or 4 more pop-ups like now do this one, now do this one,
Now do the
now
flying
do this one.
motorcycles. Yeah, I know.
Versus like stopping, starting, and squiggling a little bit and making
try
it
that
seem
next time.
imperfect
No,
and
that's a
stuff.
good idea.
And then it lets me through. I'm like, I've got to pretend to be a human in order to get through these things. It's such a drag. I know I'm not alone on that too. Contact at AIinside.show if you want to tell me that I'm not alone. I would appreciate it. Or comments. Google's AI mode getting a few new features. Big update rolling out. Live video input using Google Lens is now being integrated. So this AI mode tool set is just expanding rapidly. Getting a support for uploading and querying against PDF files and images. So you've got that as part of your little window now in AI mode. A Canvas tool, which Canvas, the different services have a version of this where it kind of breaks out a little sidebar where most of the updates happen. It's kind of like this like collaborative window that updates in real time with your actions happening on the left-hand side. I guess it's something along those lines with AI mode. Yeah, and apparently AI mode coming to the Chrome address bar with an Ask Google about this page little chip up there that you can
I
use.
finally got AI mode, but I haven't gotten this yet, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I don't know that I've gotten this yet either.
But some of this is available if you're in Gemini Pro. You have some of this now.
Yeah.
One thing
I
I
mean,
found very handy
Yeah.
is the circle of search,
Okay.
which I use.
On Android, right?
Yep. Oh, no, also on Chrome OS.
Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah, I guess so.
You can use it there now.
Yeah.
The other thing is when I'm going through the socials, especially on Blue Sky and Mastodon, people really want there to be alt text. And if I'm doing a screen grab from the New York Times, I'll remember to get the text. But sometimes that headlines is hard, and I don't want to type the whole thing because I'm a sloppy typist, right? One of the side benefits of this function is that it grabs the text and it lets you copy it.
Oh, yeah, right. It makes it
Because it grabs the text so you can search on it. That's why it does
Yep.
it. But now it makes it transparent to you so you can just copy it and then create the alt text. Just a minor little
That's
AI
a cool little
joy.
tip.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, that's cool. I've been using AI mode, I realize more recently. And if I had to just like say the reason that I end up using it is because I want to know a very specific thing. Like if I'm working on a review of a phone and I want to know like real quick, I don't know off the top of my head, like the capacity of the battery or whatever. Like I can get that information a million different ways, but for whatever reason, going to AI mode to get that one specific
there in
piece of
context.
information, it's really fast. And it ends up, I don't know how much I should like feel confidence and comfortable when it gives me like 90 sources checked.
I know.
But for whatever reason, I see like 90 and I'm like,
Oh, it has
okay,
to be true. Yeah.
that must be true.
I
Like,
did my homework. Thank you.
yeah, there's 90. Yeah, 90 sources. So anyways, it makes me feel a little better. I appreciate the speed of it.
Yeah.
And so that's that part of the reason why I've been using it. 404 Media, wonderful site. Jason Kebler is one of the founders of 404 Media and a fantastic journalist. Caught a glimpse of internal Meta message boards where they're discussing a plan to allow job candidates to use an AI assistant during their technical interviews. And so the aim here is to make the hiring process more realistic. They're basically saying in these internal discussions, like, our coders are working with AI tools, so why are we not allowing job applicants to use these tools? Let's figure out a process by which we can do this. So they're running internal mock interviews to kind of refine the approach to make sure that, it works for their purposes. But yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, they kind of have to.
Yeah.
Because
I
there
think
were
eventually you have to
companies
do
that were
this.
saying you can't use AI. It's how good a job do you do with the AI? And then how good a job does the company do figuring out what's human and what's not?
Yeah.
Added degree of difficulty. Good.
I'm sure Meta isn't alone with this either. I'm sure there are other companies, realizing, okay, this has to be part of it, because very quickly this just become part of the tool set. And of course there are people that are, resistant and everything, but I think a lot of the people who are vocally resistant are probably using it behind the scenes and just not talking about it yet. And so we're kind of getting to the point to where some of these things are becoming a little bit more, I don't know, maybe some of the shame of using these tools is burning off a little bit, or will continue to do so as companies like these basically say, like, no, it's all right. It's not something you have to hide. It's part of the landscape now. Also happening in schools, by the way. This isn't just big tech. Schools are kind of going through an exact, and you would probably speak to this better than I could, but something similar to these, which is, these tools are being used in what happens in schools. At a certain point, there's going to be a threshold, if it hasn't hit already, where they probably have to just like be okay with that and start to change their processes behind the scenes and how they interact with students and stuff to include them, because that seems to be the direction of things.
Yep.
Tom Merritt and I chatted with the author of this article, Jason Kebler, at length yesterday on the Daily Tech News Show podcast. Search it in your podcatcher of choice and you will find it. It was a good discussion. A few more and then we'll have you out of here. Adobe Photoshop getting some cool updates. Personally, I can't wait to test these out on my machine. I got to opt into, I think it's like a beta that I have to download in order to get access to it. But generative upscale, which basically increases the resolution of an image up to 8 megapixels. So good for restoring old photos. Also good for bringing up lower res images to a printable size if you wanted to print something out. Super curious to see the quality of that, because I've used systems like that before with very mixed output quality. So this is really interesting. Harmonize, which essentially allows you, as you can see if you're watching the video version, to take an image into a scene, and Harmonize will match a bunch of different qualities so that it fits the scene better. So color, lighting, shadows, tones, essentially matching it to the place that you're placing it in. So it isn't just here's an image superimposed on top. It integrates more. So that's cool. And then a better object removal algorithm, less artifacts. And then what else is there? No, I guess that's about it. There's probably more, but I'm a big fan of Adobe's suite. And I think they do a really good job of bringing these features in and making them immediately usable and not kind of kitschy or, like they're actually useful in a day-to-day environment. So I'm excited about
Adobe's
that.
cool. I mean, in my Linotype book, I have a major chunk about the creation of PostScript and how important it was. Mm-hmm. And that was the basis of it and how that happened and who brought that together. And it's a great story.
Yeah, cool. Imax and Runway partnering to bring selections from Runway's AI Film Festival to everyday audiences. Top 10 finalist films will be shown at IMAX theaters in 10 major cities across the U.S. More than 6,000 films made up the total pool, all of those films lasting from 2 to 10 minutes. So they're all, shorts made with AI. I don't know if made entirely with AI or made with AI tools or what that actually means.
Yeah, the last ones, I couldn't watch any of them from the last time around, but they're like 4 to 9 minutes. So we're seeing so much AI video slop now. It's not hard to imagine.
That's what has me really curious about this. Like, I'm actually curious to go to the one in SF. I think it happens between August 17th and 20th. So I'm going to get in touch with my friend who's a big film buff. Be like, hey, you want to go check this out? Because I'm super curious to see, like, is this just 2 hours of sloppy, the best slop you've ever seen? Or I think, there are a lot of people that immediately push back on AI generated content like this because it's just slop and it's just low effort and it's just lazy and it doesn't look very good. But I think we're at the beginning, and I could get some Rotten Tomatoes thrown at me, but I think we're at the beginning of a trend, like a new creative avenue that didn't exist before, and that the people who are investing themselves deeply into it right now, 10 years from now, are going to be names that you recognize and know because they traveled with the technology development on this kind of at this moment where there is kind of a shift between human-made art and computer-made art. And I'm curious to see where that leads.
There was an argument that, as Uncle Jeff going back in history all the time, but the typewriters ruined writing, ruined creativity, and had an impact, right? and photo cameras and illustration and Photoshop with photos and so on and so on and so on. It's how we use them.
Yep. Indeed. So, curious to see the film festival in IMAX, no less. So, like, how would all that AI content look on a big IMAX screen? I'm not quite sure,
Yeah.
but I'm very curious. So, if I see that, I will certainly report back.
See it in the Vegas sphere.
Yeah, the sphere. Oh my goodness, that's taking it to a whole other level. Jeff, thanks so much for being with me. This was a lot of fun.
Always,
Appreciate
always.
it. JeffJarvis.com, Web We Weave, Gutenberg parenthesis, magazine,
Now
various
in audiobook.
assortments. There you go. Various assortments of ways that you can either read or listen to Jeff's amazing work. More coming on the Linotype someday in the future. And when that happens, we will celebrate. We'll get a cake on the show or something. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Everybody can go to aiinside.show to find all the information you need to know about this show. It's all there. Ways to subscribe, everything. You can find it. And then patreon.com/AI Inside Show. And we have some amazing executive producers. If you contribute at that level, you don't have to get the ad-free shows, the access to the Discord community and stuff. If you're an executive producer, you do get a t-shirt as well as your name called out, like Dr. Do, Jeffrey Maricini, Radio Asheville 103.7, Dante St. James, Bono Dayrick, Jason Neifert, Jason Brady, Anthony Downs, and Mark Starcher. Yes. All right. We're closing in on 10.
Yay.
I'd love for that to happen. I'll just go ahead and keep saying it. Thank you all so much for your support.
Thank you.
Great to have you all here. Thank you again, Jeff. And we'll see y'all next time on another episode of AI Inside. Have a great week.